Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Great to see you today. Thanks for stopping by. If it's your first time here, welcome. If it's not your first time, welcome back. Thank you for the support as we continue to grow the community. I put together a little video for you guys today, kind of on an experience I was recently thinking about. So, in our society we live in, I know that interest rates are sky high, housing affordability is pretty much non-existent, and then car payments are through the roof. So the average car payment right now in the United States is $732 a month, which is a lot of money. That's, for some context, more than I paid for the mortgage on my first house I own, and more than I paid for my portion of the rent on the first place I had. So it's very expensive to own a car these days. It's very expensive to live in a house. Interest rates aren't helping anything, and then scarcity as well. They're only building luxury apartments and homes that are not affordable to most people. So about 11 years ago, I got divorced, and at that point in time, I wasn't sure where I was going to go. So I had thought about actually moving into my car. Luckily, I didn't have to move into my car because I have great parents that were supportive, and they were very thankful. That's not the right word. Luckily, I had great parents that were very supportive and were able to help me get back on my feet when I got divorced, and that allowed me to not have to live in my car, because I could only imagine just what that could be like. I tried to put together a little simulation today for you guys, just how bad of an idea it would have to be for you to live in your C6 Corvette. Actually, it'd probably be one of the, I can't think of a car that's probably any less desirable to live in actually than a C6 Corvette. So you kind of got to set your priorities straight sometimes. You have the Corvette, and your wife kicks you out because she finds out about your girlfriend, or your girlfriend does something kind of crazy and maybe kicks you out of the apartment or whatever, and you have to move into your C6. So let's just see how feasible that would be. So come on, guys, let's roll. All right, guys, if I was living in my C6 Corvette, my first question to myself would be, well, how am I going to lay down and where am I going to sleep? Now, I've given this some realistic thought before just kind of diving into this. I would make the passenger seat my quote-unquote bed. The seat, it doesn't recline back all that far, but I guess you could lay down like this effectively and shut your eyes. I'm wearing sunglasses because I would think that you'd want to block out as much light as possible being in this thing when you're trying to sleep in it. So I would, lay my seat back like this. I thought about, would the hatch be big enough to sleep in? And I don't think it is. So I'm going to climb back here real quick, and we'll see if the hatch is actually big enough for me to even fit in. Now, I'm not the biggest person in the world. I weigh 145 pounds, and I'm about 5'5". I've never tried this before, so you guys are in for a little bit of a treat while I do this. But yeah, I'm going to dive in the back of this hatch. I don't think that climbing in through lifting this up would be the best way necessarily, but I think one maybe through the back seat, maybe a little bit more effective, at least for me, since I'm not very big. But I'm going to try to dive in, get in the back of this C6 real quick, just so you guys can see. I mean, I could effectively get back here, but I don't know about laying down. So, let's see. I guess you could sleep in the back of a C6. I've rode in the back of a Mitsubishi Eclipse like this before. I'm going home from the University of Miami when I was probably about 22, but that was more like blackout drunk and not necessarily remembering what was going on. So I don't think it was, I think it was about this size, but yeah, this would not be like the most comfortable bed in the world. So I probably wouldn't sleep back here. I would probably go with my first plan, and that'd be sleeping in the front seat and just reclining it back as much as possible. I know there's a latch here. I should have used that the first time when I got in here. I'm an idiot. Like I said, I've been trying to think this through, where I would actually sleep in my C6 if I was living in my car. All right, guys. Well, the second issue I would have with living in my C6 Corvette would be the lack of privacy. This car it's like a fishbowl. It's got and especially if you have a glass roof. Mine has the fiberglass roof, so it's not transparent. But you have that transparent roof on here. There's visibility pretty much all the way around. If you're in here sleeping, I mean, even if you put windshield shades up and you maybe had tinted windows, you could kind of get away with it. But it wouldn't be that private nonetheless. As soon as you take those down, everybody could see everything you got inside your house at that point in time. So I think from that standpoint, the lack of privacy would make the C6 Corvette a terrible place to live. All right, guys. The third reason you don't want to move into your C6 Corvette is going to be storage. Now, you just saw me climb in the back of this for reason one, where would I sleep? There's some storage in the C6 Corvette. I mean, you could probably put like some snacks down there or something if you want to keep some food. Maybe a pair of shoes or something. But there's not that much storage back here really for what it is. You could fit back. Like I said, I could barely fit back there, and I'm not the biggest person in the world. But for storage, I mean, where would you put your stuff if you were living in your car? Because you effectively wouldn't. This would be your closet as well. So I mean, you could fit 2 suitcases back there, maybe a set of golf clubs, but not much more than that. So from that standpoint, it does not make the C6 very realistic to live in at all. There's just not a lot of storage. There's no in the hatch. There's not a lot of storage behind these seats. There's not a ton of storage. I mean, I guess you could put a few things back here if you want to keep them out of plain sight. But truly, it's just not that big in this car. So if you're going to live in it, in this passenger seat was effectively your living room, it'd be a little bit more challenging probably just to store stuff in here, because where would you put things? There's just not a lot of space to put your stuff. So when your wife kicks you out because she finds out about your 22-year-old girlfriend, I'm just trying to help you guys out. Don't necessarily think leaving in your C6, you're going to be able to store your stuff in here. So. All right, guys, the fourth reason why I don't think it'd be great to live in your C6 Corvette would be if you have a dog or an animal. If you have fish, definitely not. Or snakes, something like that, it'd be hard to transport them around and keep their temperature correct. But even like for me, I have my little white dog right here in the front seat of my C6 Corvette. Come here, bud. And if, where would I put him? I mean, if I were to have to live in my C6 Corvette and my dog were to come with me because he's my best friend, I mean, where would I keep my best friend if I was living in my C6 Corvette? It just wouldn't make a lot of sense. I'd feel like his first owner that I got him from, because she lived in a hotel room and then got sick and had to go in the hospital and had nobody to take care of him. That's not a great life for a dog. I feel like I was taking care of him the same way that his first owner did, and when I got him as a rescue. So definitely wouldn't want to live with my dog in a C6 Corvette if my home situation ever went south because my girlfriend found out about my wife or my wife found out about my girlfriend. All right, guys, the fifth reason why I think it'd be a terrible idea to live in your C6 Corvette would be the lack of entertainment functionality. Now, the car is entertaining when you're driving it, but when you're sitting stagnant in a parking lot, it's not really that entertaining. There's no infotainment, no screens, no displays like that, just basic buttons, which personal preference, love it. But as far as like trying to, a place to put your entertainment itself, you'd be kind of hard pressed to find a good spot for it. Like, it doesn't really fit up here very well. I guess you could put your computer right here and kind of work or watch TV or whatnot on it, especially if you have a manual and the parking brake's up, though. I mean, this might be your best bet to just kind of like sit back and watch TV or something on your computer for that matter. Or maybe if your phone's all you got, you kind of have to just rest it like this and make do with what you have. And it wouldn't be the best for entertainment purposes, but you could get by. It's just not built in. It's not super convenient. But then again, living in your C6 Corvette, there's nothing that's like super convenient probably about this in general. So the sixth reason why it'd be a terrible idea to live in your C6 Corvette would be when it comes to eating. So unless you're kind of already in the pits, I guess you could say, when you're living in your car, period. But unless you want to just like drink cans of soup that's maybe cabin temperature or even a little bit colder, or run your LS for a little bit and rest it on the hood, not efficient by any means when you get 12 miles a gallon in your house either. So you'd probably be drinking some soup, so not super convenient to sit in your C6 and eat. And if you wanted to have, like, a full-on dinner, forget about that. So, you could sit here and be like, oh, geez, I'd really like to have, some strawberries or something while I'm sitting on my C6 watching Netflix or Disney Plus. You're like, oh, strawberry. Oops. Oh, this pizza looks delicious. Uh-oh. Chicken. Oh, I'm going to cut this chicken. It'd be hard to sit here and eat in your C6 when you're trying to sit in here and have some food. There's not really a good place to put your food when you cut it in your C6, you can see. So maybe right here and try it. If you're left-handed, it would probably work okay. It might be a little harder if you're right-handed. So that'd be another downside of living in your C6. It'd be kind of hard to eat your meals. All right, guys, and for the 7th and final reason why it'd be probably a pretty terrible idea or a pretty awful experience in general just to live in your C6 Corvette would be your social life. So you're already kind of limited as to, who's going to probably date you based upon your current living circumstance if you're going to be transparent about it. I don't necessarily know that I would if I was in that scenario, at least right off the bat. I'd probably take pictures of myself, post them online with the C6 and, let people know I'm living the dream to an extent. Not floss too much. It is a C6. It's not, a $100,000 car or anything like that. But if I was living in it, and you were to pick up a nice young lady for an evening out together, she may notice the stuff that's in the back of it because you're going to probably have some clothes in there. The car could smell like food, maybe. You never know. I'm not a slob necessarily. But, you leave a can of soup in here overnight, it might stink and you may not notice it. Or you might knock it over and you might spill something all over one of the carpets in here. You could leave a chicken wing under the seat. It's hard to say. Your dog can make a mess in the C6. But the hardest part would be is when she's like, hey, I'm having a great time. Do you want to take this to the next step? And you're like, yeah, absolutely. And she's like, let's go to your place. My roommate's home. Well, shoot. We already are in my place. How's that going to go? I hope she's left-handed, you know what I mean? Because you're probably not going to let her drive your C6. And this is quite the reach, if nothing else, from a hand standpoint, let alone any other physical body part. So your social life is going to pretty much go to the wayside if you're living in a C6 Corvette. Now, you might have an easy time actually getting a date, but retaining the date and then, closing the deal may be another circumstance that might be a little bit more challenging to overcome. So I don't want to drag this video out too long, guys. I really appreciate you watching. If you haven't done me the huge solid favor yet, hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment in the video. Let me know what you guys think would be the absolute worst car to live in. I'm pretty convinced it's a C6 Corvette. I thought this through. A Miata wouldn't be as bad, and the reason I say that is because it's smaller, yeah, but it has a trunk and you can at least hide some stuff in the back of it. Unlike this is just completely open, as I mentioned. It's a fishbowl. So I think this is probably one of the worst cars you could actually live into if you're looking to move into your car. But don't take my advice for it. If you don't believe me, feel free to try it on your own. But let me know if you've ever lived in your car, if you're thinking about living in your car, because like I said, about 10 years ago, 11 years ago, that thought was a very close reality for myself. Luckily, I had good parents that took me back, and allowed me to live with them, even though I was a little bit older than what you typically would be when you live with your parents and you're rebuilding your life. But I appreciate you guys watching, and let me know in the comments what you think. Like I said, if you're ever thinking about living in your car, if you have lived in your car, and what car you live in. So I'll see you guys soon for another video. Thanks again.